CIS 4.1 says that we should be able to protect ourselves and establish a secure configuration process and make sure that it actually hardens and reduces our attack surface. 4.8 says we should get rid of unnecessary services. We're going to show you in our today's show how you can do that very easily and effectively. Join me in just a second. The main thing is you got to understand the architecture.
Give me the ball.
Welcome back to the game. It's still me, Matt Lee. There's no Dom Kirby today, unfortunately, but we do have Andy Weidner to come on with today's show and talk about what they've built and kind of really get into the heart of CIS Benchmarks. So, Andy, why don't you come on in, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, man.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. My name is Andy Weidner. I'm a product manager here at Nerdio Manager for MSP. My focus is on cybersecurity, app management, modern work. I've also done some history in our AVD side of the world, which is what Nerdio is really known for. But yeah, excited to kind of show off some of the security products that we've made and some of the work we've done in partnership with CIS.
Yeah, it's super cool, man. You know, you just triggered like 5 of my heartstrings. I like have these 1-string guitars laying around, and you just picked up 5 of them for me. You know, I've been AADJ or Entra IDJ since 2017, both in my own organization and clients. I mean, so no servers, right? Getting part of that. I was part of some of the AVD, WVD build under Project Deschutes with Microsoft. So I got to work with some of your teams during that. And so like, this is an old school love here, man, but it's great to have you on the show and get to talk about kind of benchmarks. And maybe why don't we do this? Let's talk about, we've heard about CIS critical controls. That's the 153 things that say, hey, stupid, don't do this because people died doing this, right? Like the way I like to say it. What is a benchmark? What's the difference? Help me understand that, man.
Yeah, so the benchmarks are the actionable items, right? So you got your, like you said, your controls. Those are your top level items. They kind of tell you how you should be doing things or what you should be doing. The benchmarks are product specific. So you take those controls, you boil them down and say, how do I actually harden something? How do I harden Windows 11? How do I harden Windows 10? How do I harden Google Chrome?
Sure.
I don't know their full list, but yeah, there's hundreds of products that they cover. It's massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah. And what it's come from is like, CIS can't be the expert in everything. And so what they typically do is they get working groups together. Those groups come in and talk about what those settings should be. Like, should I turn this switch on or off? Or what does Microsoft even mean when they say this in this particular registry setting, right? And so then they come up with that and say, here's the benchmark for Windows Server 2020 or 2016 or 2020, whatever it may be. And also Windows for Intune and for Microsoft and for Microsoft Office 365. And I know that in my studies, most people are identity-centric in Microsoft, right? They're starting to use that. So yeah, let's get into what you guys have built to take these benchmarks. And actually, before we do, I want one more thing I want to cover as a point. If you look to go buy benchmarks yourself as an MSP, you have to go sign up and pay based on revenue or based on size or based on the things you're buying. And it's a few $1,000s a year. Nerdio, one of the things y'all have done is taken on the aspect of paying that commercial licensure so that when people use this product, it's much simplified in the way that they're using it. Is that fair? I mean, it's kind of what y'all are approaching is doing, is bringing that much more approachable.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of one of our goals. We realized there was a little bit of a barrier to entry. Now, a lot of those benchmarks and controls, those are available on CIS's website, but anybody that's gone through and kind of manually done those, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort. I don't know how many hours I did at my previous MSP, working through a benchmark, making our standard compliant baselines. Or you can become a Secure Suite member. You can pay for those and they will help you kind of deploy them. But there's a financial cost to that. And so one of our goals that we wanted to do at Nerdio was lower that barrier to entry, help you guys, help MSPs not only secure themselves, but secure their customers in a faster, more affordable manner, basically. Yeah.
And I have one more piece before we let you get into this demo and show people what we've built, what you've built. But one of the things that I'm positing, and I have an RSA talk submission going about this, is that SMB will surpass the defense capabilities of enterprise from a security perspective in the reduction of harm in the next 5 years. That's my bold prediction. And this is exactly one of those things, the ability to click a button, have API work do the changes that are necessary on the compliant machines, and inject those benchmarks. Like, that's the kind of things and modalities that bring scale to this. So, all right, finally, Andy, I'm going to give it to you. Why don't you demo the platform, and I'll try not to ask too many questions as you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So we've got pulled up here. We've got our Nerdio Manager for MSP interface. And the cool thing about Nerdio Manager is this all lives within your Azure tenant. So this isn't like a hosted SaaS product or anything like that. So once you load it up, you can add your accounts. Pretty simple, straightforward. Just need some Microsoft credentials, or we also integrate in with your Partner Center if you have access to the Partner Center. And specifically jumping into kind of our policy management functionality, and that's kind of the magic here, especially with the CIS stuff. Every install by default comes with, once you turn it on, of course, you got to flip a switch, comes with a Windows 10 and Windows 11 CIS benchmarks built in, ready to go.
And are those being injected through Intune, or do I need an agent for those on those machines?
Yeah, so one of the big things about Nerdio is we really try to be agentless in almost everywhere that we can be. So these are all done through the API and Intune that way. Figured.
Awesome.
And so, basically you've got these, what we call our policy baselines, and they're essentially just a group of different types of policies in there. Built into the platform, they're ready to go. Nerdio, we always think of things in two stages. We think of your MSP level, where you set up your baselines and you set up your security parameters, whatever you got to do, and then you assign those out to your guys' customers. Sure. And so it's really simple to do. So I've already got these ones assigned, but I'm going to go ahead and assign our Windows 11 stuff. Just add our assignments. I've already got some accounts added, so I'm just going to add them in.
Sure. And you can tie these to users, not just devices, is what it seems like there. It seems the assignment methodology is being assigned to the user that's consuming that Windows 11, which is great for coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. So after you kind of assign it to your customer accounts, you can actually jump into that account level and you choose which users, groups, devices those actually apply to. Sure. And some stuff we even offer a feature called group templates, which allow you to set up an MSP level dynamic group that applies to each one of your customers, and then assign those policies to those dynamic groups. So when you think of automation and all that kind of stuff, set it once and apply it to everybody, one-to-many approach. That's what we really try to do.
Yeah, I used to beat up vendors about templatizations for scale. Like I had 690 customers with like 2,000 tenants, right? Like this was a scale challenge, right? So, yeah, great. That's cool.
Yeah, how do you make dynamic groups in each one of those customers, right? It's a big challenge for everybody.
That's very cool. And I noticed that you're applying, Windows 11 level aspects. What other kind of baselines can you apply from this that come from those CIS policies? Is it mainly the machine level things that we're targeting here?
Yeah. So our main focus right now are the Windows 10, Windows 11 benchmarks. We have a lot more kind of coming down the pipeline as we figure out how to integrate them into the platform. Sure. Stuff like Edge is probably our number one requested benchmark. So we're, yeah, exactly. It's coming down the pipeline, coming soon. We've also got some functionality called solution baselines, which are kind of those tenant level settings, configuring your intra-ID tenant or your SharePoint tenants, stuff like that. We also want to include some of those CIS benchmarks into those solution baselines. So you can really, not only are you securing the policy level, you're securing the tenant too.
Yeah, and doing it in a way that's prescribed and scalable, right? And that's kind of the point that's
exactly
there, is that. And so in these Windows settings, what kind of settings do you have? What kind of prep do people need to be prepared for? Have you set things like, do the ones that are not going to do damage first as the tackled ones, right? Because you can get into some ASR templates that can, attack surface reduction templates can really cripple you, right? So like, how'd y'all target that?
Right.
Give me some answers on those, brother.
Yeah, so we worked really closely with CIS to figure out what was achievable and not achievable, and we targeted the kind of Intune baselines, not only because our platform integrates in with Intune pretty much directly, but because the impact for a lot of those things for your day-to-day operations was relatively low. And so we went through, really reviewed where that impact is while we could still be hitting that line with CIS. So CIS likes you to hit 90% of the benchmark to say, you guys are CIS compliant. Right.
Yeah, sure. What does that
Oh
look
yeah, that
like?
was
Can we
really our
dig
goal
into one of
there.
those policies and see what kind of things we are looking at implementing?
Yeah, so we can actually we can show you a little bit here, and we have a bunch of different policies available. And I'm going to clone one of these baselines. So we can get a little bit more detail, um,
Sure.
just the way the platform works. But what we do is we show you which controls and which benchmarks these policies actually apply to. And then from there, we allow you to kind of look at, you can go get the benchmark PDF from CIS, and you can compare those to what you got. So if we go into some of these policy groups, you can go to edit, and you can see which recommendations those actually apply to, and then match those up with what CIS actually
Sure.
recommends. We've
And
got some
those are
updates
from the
coming in the future
benchmark
that's going to be a little
numberings,
bit more descriptive. Yeah,
right? Those are
exactly.
benchmark numberings, correct? Not CIS critical control numberings. So those are going to be the benchmarks
Exactly.
specifically. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can reference
that
these
makes
numbers
sense.
directly to see what applies. Yep.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Are they editable, or do you have to include them all because of the way you've done this with CIS to meet the 90% rule?
Yeah, so currently, or at least our first conversations with CIS, we wanted to hit that 90% rule. So we didn't allow editing to them. Now we've talked to CIS and really communicated with them to kind of make it so you can edit those. So
Sure.
stay tuned for some future updates. We've got that in the pipeline
Yeah.
coming out. You'll be able to actually edit it with our JSON editor, like all of our other policy management stuff that we
Okay.
offer.
And I would wager when you set these, you're able to go see some of these policies that are being created in the resultant Intune tenants. Is that fair? That
Yeah.
you'd be able to see, because this is just manipulating those API endpoints ultimately, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you go into the Intune Admin Center, and I've actually got it pulled up here.
Yeah, cool.
So if we go into Intune, and I don't know if it's going to load on the display, but maybe not.
Maybe not. You might have to switch what we're sharing. I apologize. I didn't think about that.
There we
Huzzah!
go.
Look at us. Here we are. Very good.
All right. So yeah, if you go into kind of your Intune tenant, I'm going to choose configuration because most of these Intune policies are part of the configuration templates.
Sure.
And you click on any of these. These are all the
And
stuff
they're
for
well
here.
named.
Again,
They tell you they're the CIS L1 that matches back to the policy name in the actual system, correct? That's the way they're structured.
Exactly. Yep,
Nice.
exactly. And yeah, you can go in here and you can, of course, view your configuration settings and what's actually included within those policies.
Oh, good. So you've tackled stuff like time synchronization right there, setting up the time systems, power management, remote assistance, system log on, account details on sign-in so you don't know that my email address is there, enable users domain joins. You stopped people from being able to domain join to take and hijack the access level, turn off picture password. Thanks, I'll take that. It's always the firehouse. Anyways, turn on convenient pin sign in, and then turn off so you can set all of those benchmarks. Yeah, this is great. So you can dig into this side of it to see more of what's being applied, rather than having to do a manual comparison, right? So that's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
What else do we have here? Keep scrolling down if you don't mind, just for my own nerdy bits. Group policy, do not apply periodic background processing. So they're setting some older GPO stuff, which would apply in an Active Directory world more. Security policy processing, I guess not. Resultant group policy probably comes from some of the injections points. System early launch at anti-malware, stop the boot start drivers can be good. And then, yeah, no, this is great. Credential delegation, protection level for device, forced update clients. Encryption, Oracle remediation, and then system audit. This is great. So yeah, so they're setting up auditing that gets into Control 8, setting into credentials management and Control 5, and some of the securely handle management, device installation. This is so good. Okay, very cool. This is a lot, and I think one of the nice things is I think people would have struggled to go figure out what to go set on all of these from a PDF. To your point, right? Is you have to go do the work. It's manual, and doing that at scale, you're probably going to turn into writing a script. If you're going to end up writing a script, you got to write a delivery point. If you write a delivery point, you might, let's just go ahead and make a platform that does it. And I love that y'all went ahead and built that in. It's a good way to solve that for them. So this is good. How often does it check the in-syncness of these Intune policies in their application and the group management of that? Is it when launched? Is it constantly? I know it's a running entity inside your Azure tenant. So how's that managed?
Yeah, so yeah, we have an internal scheduler that checks just on a periodic basis. It could be anywhere from 15 minutes to maybe a couple hours, depending on the type
what
and
it's checking,
where we're at on API limits and stuff like that. So we really have to dance around API limits, of course, with Microsoft.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is checked on a regular basis. And if you want to check the status, you can always manually go into the product and check the status. There's a manual refresh button
Okay.
on any of this. And you can check for something that we call drift, or when a status of the policy has changed or the values of the policy have changed. We can actually see when they're drifted, and you can act on those as well.
Do you have historical drift maps of those policies that are persistent, or is it mainly identifying the drift for me in its key moment right now?
Yeah, so it's we do have some historical stuff, but the main focus is that in the moment this setting has drifted. Let's act on it. Let's alert on it. That kind of a thing.
Sure. Okay. Very awesome. Yeah, that's cool. What else you want to show me? Anything else you wanted to show off in here?
Yeah, I'm going to switch my tab over. I actually wanted to show you that drift management just a little bit to see
nice.
see what it says. So we've got these are the Windows 10 level 1 policies. This is the status of them, so you can tell all of this is a valid version. Sync type is valid, all that kind of stuff. I don't have any assignments, so all the assignments are excluded.
They're all excluded technically, or none are excluded because of it, because they're unassigned.
Yeah, right. Right. So I'm going to see if I can actually change one of these settings here real quick.
And like back on the Intune portal side. So we'll see if it can be scanned for that updateness.
Yep.
Now don't forget about the Azure bake-in time. Oh, that was quick. Good stuff.
Yeah. It's almost immediate. Nice. So you change it in the portal, hit the refresh button. We've already noticed. That's what I was going to ask you earlier. Mismatch here.
Do you need do you need GDAP or DAP, or can you do PowerShell modalities too to access those tenants? Is it all through Partner Center, through DAP or GDAP?
So you can do it through Partner Center, or we're based basically on a service principle. So once you connect the account or through the Partner Center, we create enterprise application, and then all of the API permissions that Nerdio needs are done through that enterprise application that way.
So you could do it on a tenant by tenant basis then, by that nature of granting GA or A or admin rights to create that enterprise application that you use. Yeah, and that also makes it really quick, right? Because you're communicating with the PowerShell endpoint of that, as opposed to waiting on Graph API to fully represent everything. In some cases, I would wager. Or is it all to Graph?
We try to rely on Graph API, but yeah, there's some of the PowerShell endpoints in there too. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Very cool. No, that's great. So, I mean, I think, what else would you show off if you were trying to help people understand the value of this? I know you have other parts of this platform. This ties into Intune and makes policies. It ties into benchmarks. What else? What else you got, man?
Yeah, so I think our solution baselines are really huge for a lot of people. And these are basically some tenant level settings for all of these kind of objects within the M365 ecosystem. So if you guys are, you're selling those business premium licenses to your customer, that's kind of what we based all of these on. You can really go in, and I'm just going to configure one of these baselines here. So for Intune, for example, we've got all sorts of different settings that you can set in a baseline level, assign those to your customer accounts, and then same thing with what we saw with policy management. You can watch and monitor for setting drift. You can accept the drift, you can fix the drift, whatever you need to do. And we've got,
those would apply appropriate CA policies. I'm assuming if you were doing that type of thing, that's setting device level, what can and what can't be brought in, that's setting some type of CA policies, is my gut. Oh, you are in CA policies. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we've also got a whole section for conditional access policies, and we're currently working on even improving conditional access policies on top of that. So we've got all sorts of policy management stuff, whether you're doing Defender for Office 365, conditional access,
accepted drifts. So it looks like you can accept drifts for a reason that you might have some risk-based decision that you've decided to keep that drift for that one client potentially. Is that what that's for?
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Exactly. And you can, this is kind of a dashboard. I don't have any accepted ones in this demo tenant.
Good.
But if you accepted the drift, fingers crossed.
You win the
right?
security game today, Andy. Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I know that there's, it's pretty simple, but what's happening on the back end is a lot of stuff, right? It's creating a lot of policies that you would have to manually create and not miss and not have a human failure, or write scripts to manage, keep them up to date. And so I'm not trying to make this a sales pitch, but what I am trying to say is, let's do the things that are valuable for companies, like understand their business and in their business, and not spend our time focusing on the things like this kind of scut work. And there's a lot of reasons for it. And I'm going to go off on a second on a soapbox, but Ohio was one of the first states to pass the safe harbor clause in it. And I think it was 2018. And in that safe harbor clause, they said, listen, if a company goes under a breach, now remember, you should never say the word breach. Breach comes from an attorney, a breach counsel, or someone willing to stand in court and defend that it's a breach or not a breach. But once you have a breach in Ohio and now 7 other states, if you can prove that you were following a framework to a reasonable level, right, meaning that reasonable person level, then you can be held harmless, potentially no liability from a civil suit or other suits and other things. And so there's a safe harbor clause that's being used as an active defense. What's interesting is, in order to meet that, it's great to be able to have these defensible ways you did that. Do you want to be the guy or gal that goes like, oh yeah, I set all the settings, I made it all the thing, or do I want to go to CIS benchmarks as a methodology of choosing that? I didn't make up whether or not this was the choice of, did Microsoft mean disable means off, or did disable mean on in this case? Like, you've played that football game, right? And so that's what benchmarks solve for you. But now you're taking it a step further to say, now we're going to automate managing the benchmarks, measuring the output from that, making sure that we can manage drift. Those are all healthy parts of showing an actual healthy, manageable security status. It's not always going to be perfect. You have to walk through these changes, and an engineer's going to make a mistake. They set a scope that's too broad on something that's a little looser. So many of those things. And so I think these type of platforms, we've shown one before, we've got yours. I think those are the things that solve the SMB problem and scale for MSPs. What are your thoughts on that, Andy? You might just be a resounding yes and got your choir robes on, but any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. That being able to really take some industry expert or industry wide knowledge in the case of CIS. Like, again, they come from focus groups, they come from the community, they come from people like us, they come from people like you.
Yep.
To make those CIS benchmarks and controls and recommendations, and be able to lean on and rely on those to make sure that your guys' tenants, and to your point on the safe harbor laws, make sure, you're really above board, and maybe even absolving yourself of some of that legal responsibility at the end of the day is a really strong selling point.
It's economies of scale, right, Andy? Like, it's economies of scale. Why do SMBs come to MSPs? Because they spend 6 to 7% of their top line revenue, which 14 million businesses in the United States, that's about $500,000. So that's 35,000 on all tech, laptops, software, line of business, all their things. And so that level of like commoditization is solved, or that level of low ability below the poverty line that, Wendy Nather talks about, is solved by MSPs saying, listen, I'll do 100 companies and I can find ways to scale that efficiently and at process and add skill and capability. And now you have companies like Nerdio and others that are saying, I can help you scale that in a very specific focus, in a very defensible way, right? It's the economies of scale playing out. This is what plays out that solves these problems, in my personal opinion. And so I really wanted to take the time to showcase this. I would advocate MSPs getting involved in finding a platform to manage these things, to show that they're doing the due care and the due diligence they require to implement safeguards effectively, and find ways where they can transfer some of that risk to a larger entity that can manage that and produce a product that keeps you within the bell curve of where you need to be to meet reasonableness, if that makes sense. So
exactly.
Is there anything else you want to show off in here, or do we just close it on that wonderful nugget?
Yeah, well, I can't be a Nerdio employee without talking about AVD just a little tiny bit.
Let's do it. So, I'll give you one AVD minute. No, go ahead. Go after it.
Show us the one AVD minute. I'll see if I can cram it in. So one thing cool about AVD and Nerdio is we actually partnered with CIS directly to release CIS hardened images to the Azure Marketplace, and those are integrated directly in to Nerdio Manager MSP as well. So CIS hardened image, if you don't know, is a virtual machine image that CIS has gone through and pre-hardened to all of their benchmarks, already ready to go. You don't have to do any labor. You don't even have to assign it. All you've got to do is deploy it, and you're good to go. Just wanted to kind of highlight this.
And they also keep that golden image up to date as they find changes, right? So if they need to make an update to that because of some change, they keep it up to date, and you can simply pull that same golden image again from that perspective if you needed to, right? Especially if you have ephemeral workloads. And I'm glad you brought this up, because it does make using AVD that you're already doing now a bit more secure, because you're also now showing where you did that same due care and due diligence across to the AVDs that exist inside that space. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue, Andy.
No, that's exactly my point. Is yeah, like CIS has done the hard work for you. Within Nerdio, we use the golden image concept where you create your golden image, you deploy it to a host pool, and every host that you deploy to that host pool automatically is hardened, basically out of the get go, out of the box,
Yeah.
ready to go. And the other really cool thing, and we just recently announced this, is Nerdio Manager for MSP is now available in the Azure Government Marketplace. So
Oh, nice.
anybody in the DIB, in the defense industrial base, is going through the CMMC final rule, all that stuff that's coming out. It got to be done by
Yeah.
October. All of what I've shown you today is available in the Azure Government Marketplace. You
Can-
can deploy host
You can
pools
run
for your
this
secure
itself.
enclaves.
You can run
Yeah,
this in those enclaves, and because of the power, the connectivity that you create to the enterprise app, it now has inside that tenant the ability to pull those things, thereby getting by some of the problems of a GCC high and GCC that
yeah.
doesn't allow you to do those in a traditional endpoint nature. Is that a fair way to say it of why you're able to accomplish that? I get one a
Yeah,
day, Andy.
exactly.
I get one a day. Okay.
Yeah, no,
All right, cool. Well,
that's
it's
spot
late. You know
on.
what I mean?
That's exactly
Anyways, no, it's so
it.
good. That's really good. And so you would want to host it inside of another GCC high tenant, so
Yeah,
that you have the ability to maintain that same. We're all in the GCC or GCC high or whatever it is
yeah.
necessary for that space. And I don't want to say anybody that's out there at CMMC, don't take Matt Lee as saying you have to be GCC high. I'm not going to get into that fight. I'm going to say you need to be in GCC. You need to be in some GovCloud space. And I'm glad that you guys are offering the same capability inside that. And because you're letting them host it and managing mainly the infrastructure as code, I guess, if you will, then it allows
Yeah,
that point of all of the secrets, point of all the connectivity, point of all those to come from the MSP's Azure tenant, which allows the distributed nature of that workload. And really, it's I don't know, it's a great model. It is a great model to scale, in my opinion, is the ability to have that wherever I need it and make it make sense. So, yeah,
yeah,
Andy,
that's exactly it.
great work, man. I know you and I've gotten to meet and talk about this in the past and kind of talk about it with some of your other colleagues, but y'all are crushing it over there. And I really appreciate you coming on and showing this to us. So thank you.
Yeah, great chatting with you again, and yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm glad we can, yeah, have a little discussion and demo what Nerdio's been up to for a little bit. So yeah, thank you.
Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and close out the show. I'll let us know what we're doing here. Okay, so we're going to be off next week. I'm actually taking off the week, and we're working on some stuff in the team. And we're going to come back on September 3rd with William Fielder of Red Hat, and he's an interesting character. I met this guy in GurCon, which I'm actually wearing my GurCon shirt today. But I met him at GurCon. He's been a security analyst with Red Hat Linux for forever, and he's just really angry and loves rabbits and wants to share his information of the least used security features in Red Hat. If you're a Red Hat or Linux nerd, come join us next week and watch how dumb Matt is when it comes to Linux. See y'all then.